Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 178th installment of the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Shelach. Parshas Shelach, all about the sin of the spies, which we've done in previous years. Right, we spoke about the sin of the spies. Also talks about Parsha of Tzitzis, right, Parsha of wearing fringes, tzitzis, and also speaks about topic we're going to speak about the Makoshesh. Right, who's the Makoshesh? So it says in the book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse 32, Torah tells me, children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering wood. Right, that is the Makoshes. The man gathering wood on the Sabbath day. And what do? They killed him. Right, essentially they kill him. Right, that's what the Torah says. They take him out, and he gets stoned. So it comes on the Medrash, right? It says Mori v'Rebbe, Arav Agon or Moshter Moshlita, should be well. Brings down the Medrash, and the Medrash tells us, first of all, who was it? Who was this person that gathered up wood in the desert? Right? So it's none other than Tzlofchad. Right? Remember the 5 daughters, their father died, etc. So, why shouldn't we get an inheritance? But it's talking about Tzlofchad. So it says the Medrash, Tzlofchad had intention, my Rebbe says, for the sake of heaven. That's really what we call an Aveira Lishma. Right? A transgression for the sake of heaven. Why did he do it? Why did he do it? To take out of the minds of the children of Israel, since they made a mistake with the sin of the spies, and they're going to die in the desert anyway, right? That generation's going to die. So what he wanted to take out of their minds, that they'll think they don't have to keep Torah, right? They're going to die anyway. So if they're going to die anyway, what's the point of keeping Torah? Going to die, right? So nonetheless, what did he do? He came and desecrated Shabbos, right? He came and desecrated Shabbos. What's the punishment? Death by stoning. Right? Most severe punishment. So he gets killed. He gets killed for the sake of heaven. Because they wanted to make sure people understood the severity of Shabbos. You tell me. They're all going to die in the desert anyway. So the question is going to be, why should they keep anything? Why should they keep Torah mitzvahs? They're going to die anyway. Comes along Tzlofchad and says, it's so important to keep Shabbos, I'm willing to give up my life. I'm willing to give up my life to show the severity of what it is. Right? The severity of the transgression. So he says, so Rebbe here says, since it was for the sake of heaven, and he was willing to render self-sacrifice, Torah doesn't mention his name. Torah just says they found a man gathering wood. They didn't say it was Tzlofchad. We understand it's Tzlofchad. Torah doesn't tell me. So therefore, since he did it for the sake of heaven, it was unbelievable self-sacrifice. Because it's unbelievable self-sacrifice, Torah does not mention his name. Right? It's one thing. Nonetheless, he's still liable for death penalty. We don't give him, we don't give him a free pass. Since he transgressed something pretty severe. Even if it's for the sake of heaven. Right? Doesn't get a free pass. So even though it doesn't mention his name, because it would be kind of a bad thing to mention his name if he did it for the sake of heaven. Right? He didn't do it for any ulterior motive. And he knew he was going to die. So if he knows he's going to die, he's liable for a death penalty. He wants to show the Jews in the desert how severe it is. And they have to keep Torah and mitzvahs. But he still gets punished. Right? 100% he's going to get punished. So then my Rebbe says, fundamental principle of Judaism. Right? Something we all have to know, we all have to put in our minds. He says it's not the way of Judaism about just thinking about doing things. Just about my thoughts. Right? What does Judaism emphasize? Judaism emphasizes action. God wants us to do things. Right, I had somebody tell me, well, if I don't really fully understand, this mitzvah, that mitzvah, why should I keep it? So I explained, well, if I give you 10 different answers, you can still tell me I don't fully understand it. That one really doesn't apply to me. Nah, this one I don't think is really the right one. Nah, I don't like this one. It's an excuse. Right? Because the person's going to say, nah, you know what? Let me think about it some more. Let me delve into it more. And then they say I don't have to do it. Right? I don't fully understand it. Why should I do it? So my Rebbe points out that the punishment over here is that he's going to get punished for the transgression, even if he did it for the sake of heaven. Right? We don't necessarily care why he did it. We're not interested. But if he did it for the sake of heaven, right? Nonetheless, what does the Torah tell me? Torah tells me I still have to keep the Torah. Doesn't matter what my thoughts are. Doesn't matter how much I understand or not. Still an obligation to keep it. And if I transgress, I get punished. So there's some people out there, maybe here points out, what we call the cardiac Jews. Right? They're a Jew in their heart. They think that Judaism's all about what's in your heart. That's the most important thing. I'm a good person. I guess in my own mind. Not according to the Torah. Right in my heart, I think Jewish things. I think about bagels. I think about lox. I think about the New York Times and gefilte fish. Says my Rebbe that doesn't butter the biscuits. My language. It's not about my thoughts. It's not about what's in my heart. He says it's a major fundamental mistake. Because if, in this case, what Shelach did, he did it for the sake of heaven. Nonetheless, he prevented himself from doing a mitzvah, he transgressed, he gets punished. Right, all the more so if he's doing it for the benefits. To show how severe it is. How severe the punishment is. So this is an unbelievable thing. Right, it comes up a lot. You come in contact with secular Jews. Because they're going to say, come on. Do you really think God wants all this ritual? Right, there's so much ritual to do. And then who's going to remember everything? People make mistakes. God's going to take all that in stride. He understands people make mistakes. But it's not enough to be a philosophical Jew. Right? What I mean is that it's not mental gymnastics here. It's not about delving to the depths, and if I really understand it, then I'll keep it. Because that, to me, is what I'll call a third and long. That's a punt. That's an excuse. Because who's to say you're going to fully understand? Just like the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, that says in the ethics of our fathers that what? A person will say, when I have time, I'll study. But who says you're ever going to have time? Then maybe you'll never study. Because you got other things to do. Or a person says, you know what? I'm really going to sit and learn Torah very seriously when I retire. Right? I'm too busy. Work, business, whatever. Too busy. So I'm so busy. When I'm not so busy, I'll learn. But then you want to do other things. Right? When a person retired, you would certainly want to do other things. So who's to say you're going to learn? Not only that, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You'll say, well, I'll do it in the future. Who says you're going to be alive tomorrow? Who says you're going to wake up just because you woke up yesterday? And you woke up the day before? Maybe. Maybe your time is up. That's it. So people live with an illusion. Some people. Right? The illusion is, and they use it as an excuse, but the illusion is, I have to fully understand. I can't do something if I don't fully understand. Now again, these type of people, probably a waste of time to speak to them, because they'll give you the same answer. Right? And the answer will be when I fully understand. Now the problem is, we mentioned that's an excuse. Because if you give them 20 answers, they'll find a problem with each one. And they'll say, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's like this. Maybe it's like that. I don't like this answer. So at the end of the day, they won't keep anything. They use that for every single thing. Even if deep down they get the message, they don't want to trade. They don't want to change. So if they don't want to change, it doesn't matter what you tell them. No matter how well you explain it. And if you give them the answer that they want, they're going to change? Probably not. Right? Why not? Because it's going to be too hard. How can I go against my previous life? What about family? What are people going to say? You have to be really searching for truth. So here you see a concept that a person can do a transgression for the sake of heaven, and there's still punishment. Severe punishment. He gets taken out, gets stoned to death. But he wanted to show the severity. Right, 100% he wanted to show the severity. To show that even though they're liable for a death penalty, meaning they're all going to die, right, that generation's going to die, and then the generation after is going to go into the land of Israel. He wants to show that they think, okay, why should I bother keeping Torah? Why should I bother me doing the mitzvahs? So he transgressed for the sake of heaven to show them, oh, you really think it doesn't apply? You really think that, okay, so I'll transgress, what's the big deal? I can't get punished, I'm already going to die. Right, it's already death penalty. Comes along the Torah and says, doesn't matter. Even though you're liable, that generation's going to die. You transgress Shabbos, you're going to die now. Right, would you rather die now or die later? You're going to die. But if you transgress over here, it's so severe, Shlachot was willing to sacrifice his life in order that the Jewish people shouldn't make light of the Torah mitzvahs because they're liable for a death penalty. Now, does the person have to do such a thing? The answer is no. Right? But there is, I'm just pointing out, as my Rebbe says here from the Medrash, there is such a concept of a transgression for the sake of heaven. Because regular transgression, you don't necessarily do for the sake of heaven. Right? You transgress because of desire. Interest, desire, whatever the evil inclination gets you. That's why you transgress. I mean, you may think, I'm doing something for the sake of heaven. Right? At least the negative thing here, I transgress, but it's not true. Right? For most people, you're not going to have this option. You're not transgressing in order that you're going to sanctify God's name. Now, you might have to transgress, for certain things. On Shabbat, save a life. Whatever the case is. But that's okay. That's permissible. Right? Because a person's life is in danger. Person's life is in danger, all the mitzvahs are nullified. Even if it's on Yom Kippur. Even if it's on Shabbos. Even on a festival. Doesn't matter. Saving a life comes first. That's the priority. Even if you have to break Shabbos. Even if you have to break the festival. But obviously you should do it in a way where you can minimize the transgression, if possible. Otherwise, if not, you just transgress. Because you don't have a choice. Saving a life is crucial. People have to get out of their minds this idea of philosophical, my language, mumbo jumbo. What's philosophical mumbo jumbo? It means you make up all kinds of things to try and say, I'm not keeping this. Right? The ones that have the purest faith, God said it, we do it. We're in Egypt. He took us out miraculously. Got to eat the matzah. Got to keep the mitzvahs. I don't question. God wrote a book. He gave it to the Jewish people through Moshe Rabbeinu. Greatest selling book of all time. He tells us what we need to do. What we need to stay away from. What's going to draw us closer to God. What's not. And most of the mitzvahs don't make sense. More than 80%. Because the reality is, there are a lot of details, but there are a lot of things that do not go according to our own logic. Many things over here. So what does God say? God says, this is my book. I wrote this book. Pass it down to Moshe. I know what's good for you. I know what's bad for you. You see an upside down world. We're living within Hester b'toch Hester Panim. God's hiddenness and hiddenness within hiddenness. So we don't see God directly in this world. Very hard to. But God says, don't worry. I set down the law. This is what you have to keep. This is what you have to do. That doesn't mean I don't have to work hard to try and understand and just have a leap of faith. That's for the Christians. We have to try and understand it to the best of our ability. But guess what? Even the things that make sense are divine. Don't kill, don't steal. A lot of details there. What it means. All that being said, I got to realize it's not in my mind. It's not about trying to understand, get down to the nitty-gritty, what it means, and make a condition. What's the condition? Someone will say, or many people will say, I want to delve into it, I want to understand it at my level, and then I'll keep it. But again, isn't that just an excuse? Isn't someone just throwing it out there? Come on, give me a great explanation. Give me the guru's explanation of what the Torah says. Make me understand it. Okay, what if I do? What if I give you 20 different reasons for different things? They can all resonate with you. Maybe none of them will. But I give you 20 answers. One of them should resonate. To say, wow, that makes sense. The only problem is, most people are not intellectually honest. So even if it does resonate, they'll say, no, I'm not really sure. The famous story with Rabbi Ori Zohar, should be well. Used to be a famous actor, Israeli actor, became a Baal Tshuva. Came back to Torah. What happened to him? He used to make fun of, Orthodox Jews. He'd be by the Western Wall. Don't know why, but let's say he was there. People with black hats say, hey, cowboy. Make fun. So there was a rabbi there. Saw what was going on. Had a whole discussion with him. And he made him an offer. And the offer is, sit down with me, ask me all your questions. If I can't provide answers, you're free to go. Or if the answers don't make sense, you're free to go. But if my answers do make sense, and they do resonate, you got to commit to learning. So here, Rabbi Zohar thought, I got to go with an opportunity. I got to go with an opportunity to show these cowboys, in my language, they're blowing smoke. What do they believe in? It's all faith. Right? It's all faith-based. So here he is, big ego, big actor, and he says, deal, you're on. And he's like licking his chops. He's all excited. He says, I'm going to rip this rabbi to shreds. They sit down to learn. Obviously he didn't really know that much. And this rabbi clocked him. Wiped the floor with him. Whatever adjective you want to use. Destroyed him. Totally destroyed him. All his arguments, one after another. So what happens? Committed to learning, became about tshuva. Probably the most famous returnees to Judaism, the last century. And he worked with other secular people, trying to bring them back. Did unbelievable work. Still continues. Should be well. But he was intellectually honest. Most people probably would never take that chance. First of all, probably not as confident. Not only that, maybe they think you're in a cult. You try and brainwash him. They won't get into the discussion. And even if they do, and even if in my language they get checkmated, that they have nothing to answer, could still have a question. Could still have doubts. Like a college student told me, even if you prove 99% that the Torah is true, I still have doubt. I got 1% doubt. Only a Jew could say such a thing. If you prove something 99%, how can you have a doubt? It's just a way for you to score them out, to say I don't have to keep it. But what if it's 70%? What if you can prove it's 70%? 65%? That's not good enough? This kid said 99%. Not good enough. That's an excuse. Because that means whatever you tell him is not going to matter. He's still going to wiggle out. Why? Because he doesn't want to be put in that position. Because once you destroy their philosophical outlook and that how they've been misled and brainwashed by secular society, then they got a problem. The problem is, what about my old friends? What about the path I'm on right now? They're in big trouble. Because they have to change. They had somebody many years ago tell me that if I looked into Judaism and I find out it's true and I have to change, I'm not going to do it. So I'm not willing to look into it. Okay, they're intellectually honest. But I would think, in general, what would most people be afraid of? If they would have a friendly debate about Judaism. Ask me whatever you want. Let's see where it goes. Would most people take someone up on that? They'd probably be leery. Why? Because maybe you know something they don't. Mental gymnastics, you convince them, then what? Had a conversation with someone once many years ago. Actually kind of trapped them. Because this person was saying, I'm a good person. I don't need ritual, whatever. Don't exactly forget how the conversation came up. So how did I grab them? I said, oh, you're good. Very nice. This whole idea, good in my heart. Cardiac Jew. So I said, I'm just curious. What's your definition? What makes you good? You have to have parameters, no? There are madmen in the world. They think they're good. Other people think they're good, but they're really rotten. You can see what they do, but they really think they're good. So I got this person entangled over here. Answered one thing, I kept saying so, but how is that universal? How does that work? What are the parameters? Very easy questions. And after a while, person felt like he was getting trapped, which he was. He stopped the conversation. He goes, I got into this conversation. I got this far. We're done. This conversation's over. What happened? Got him to a point to admit that his premise is faulty. Really faulty. But if you take that to the degree which it should go, that means that everything I've done up until now is wrong. And now I have to admit I'm wrong. I have to admit this book is true. And I have to follow it. Now obviously this person couldn't go that far. Why? This person's intermarried. Now if he comes to the conclusion that up until now his belief is shot, and that actually the Torah could very well be true, in all the repercussions, not going down that path. Why not? Obvious. Then he's going to uproot his whole life. And that he's not willing to do. So the person didn't admit, oh, you got me. Nice job. Ended the conversation on that point. Went on to something else. That was it. Because the truth hurts. When you understand what it is, then you realize, I got to change. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. But a person realizes what the real deal is. And what they have to do, what they have to go through. Right? And someone told me, I'm not going to look into it because I am intellectually honest. And if I follow it through and you're right, and I have to change, I'm not going to do it. So I'm not going to look into it. He's worried, maybe it's true. But you have other people that are not intellectually honest. So they could go through that, lose the argument, and still not do anything. And still say, no, I still have doubts, I still have this. But you beat them. You got them to think. They realize it's faulty. So what do they do now? End it. Say, no, but I can really have doubts. Checkmate. So the point is, it doesn't matter what's in your heart. What's in your heart is relative. It can change. It can be fickle. Because it's not grounded in reality. If you follow the Torah, you follow the laws, you do what God wants, that's reality. If you go according to society, morality changes. I mentioned in the Q&A, how morality changes over time, how different mores come in or leave or whatever. So one of the examples I gave, was up until the early 1960s, men wore hats. Everybody wore hats. You see in England, you go to the races, the ponies, people still wear ascots, right? It's part of the makeup going there. Maybe things have changed by now. But what happened in America? What happened that men stopped wearing hats? Who was the person that took off his hat? And then the whole nation took off their hat? None other than John F. Kennedy. He was the one who took off his hat. Everyone else followed suit. Why? Because of who he was? Because of his position? People felt it was time and he's just the one to do it? Any number of factors why. Right? You certainly see certain things today. People pushing an agenda, a very strong agenda that was pushed under the rug for years. Call it discrimination, homophobia, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Right now, it's a very powerful movement. So what happened? We got more open-minded. Till our brains fell on the floor. What happened? What changed? Well, whoever pushed this to the forefront, put it in the agenda, able to convince enough people that the mentality changed. Right, exactly how that works. Right, it could be a whole discussion of itself. 50, 60 years ago, everything's under the carpet, everything's in the closet. Now today, everything's in front of your face. 100% in front of your face. So what changed? So you tell me the liberals took over. And they set the agenda. Could be. It's unbelievable powerfully. Right? It's a powerful thing. So however it works, morality changes. What's in your heart today is gone tomorrow. People's philosophies change overnight. That's not Torah. Torah's absolute. Torah, there's right, there's wrong. There is no wishy-washy. There is no my language, mushy-gushy. It's absolute. If it's absolute, doesn't matter what's in my heart. At the end of the day, you got to do what's right according to the Torah. And even the other groups that change it want to say there is no problem with homosexuality, no problem with other things. Got to get with the times. Torah doesn't tell me that. They're not bringing sources from Torah to tell me it's okay. They are officially picking and choosing. Good. I mean, not good, but that's what they're doing. You want to tell me you got sources to back it up? It's one thing. You want to tell me we got to get with the times to reach the young people and whoever. So we have to bend the rules. Or obliterate them. Or make the Torah in our own image. Which the end result is a disaster. Right? An absolute disaster. So in the end, it's about what I do. It's about what the Torah tells me to do. It is not about what's in my heart, what's in my mind. Right? Don't we say in the Shema, we say over here, chapter 15, verse 39, Lo sasu acharei levavchem, acharei nech, I'm not allowed to go after my heart, after my eyes. Right? Not to fulfill my own desires. Got to do what the Torah tells me. No change over here. It's not about philosophical mumbo-jumbo. It's about what I'm obligated to do. And you see how important it is that Slavchad was willing to make his point for the sake of heaven, even at the expense of his life. Because he understood it doesn't matter what's in your heart. What matters is what we do. So you're going to say, until I fully understand the Torah, I'll keep it. That'll take you 10 lifetimes. And we're only going to scratch the surface. If we only scratch the surface, okay, but you still have to keep it. Doesn't mean I just say, okay, it's a leap of faith. Got to learn. Got to understand. Got to work at it. But you can't use the excuse and say, until I fully understand. Because you may never fully understand. Then King Solomon, the wisest of all men, what was the hardest thing for him to understand? The paraduma. Red heifer. Made someone impure at the same time. Made the Kohen impure, while at the same time making the other person pure. Doesn't make sense. You had a little difficulty with that. But if he adds, a red cow and it's never worked and whatever, you take the ashes of what you do, even if it doesn't make sense. It's a godly book. It's God's law. It's my obligation to keep it. Whether I understand it fully or I don't. Because at the end of the day, it's very easy to wiggle out. Very easy to say, okay, I don't fully get it. And you're not going to give me any reason. That's what they're thinking. You're never going to come up with a reason to convince me. Okay? Right? No different than Karaites, Messianic, same thing. They have an agenda. And their agenda is, no matter what you say, no matter how many proofs, they are not going to listen to the rabbis. Doesn't matter, you put them in a corner and checkmate. They're not interested. They have their own agenda, okay? I'd be much happier if people admitted that. Just say, I have my own agenda, I'm not listening. Okay, but I just brought you 10 proofs. 20 proofs. Why I need to listen to the rabbis. Why, Bottom line is, you're not going to listen. Because if I bring all the proofs, or someone else, or whatever, and you can't answer them, then what does that mean? Checkmate. That means I'm right, you're wrong. But all you need is one. I don't need 10. But all you need is one proof that the Torah doesn't make sense without oral law. And if a Karaite or Messianic, whatever, can't answer it, well, someone told me Messianics will just not deal with it. They'll say, wow, it's a great question. We're not changing. Doesn't matter if I have an answer or not. Okay, that's not being intellectually honest. Right? If you admit you're not intellectually honest, you're just going to blow it off and say, you rabbis, this, that, and the other thing. That's not an answer. Right? The Messianic line, King David. A Moabite cannot convert. Deuteronomy 23, verse 4. 3 generations comes King David. How was King David Jewish? Still waiting for an answer according to the Torah, writings, or prophets. Not even going to mention oral law. I have an answer. Right? There is an answer. But you have to go on to oral law. Now, if you don't have an answer, you got a problem. You got a major issue. And that is, this disproves your whole base. Because it shows why you need the rabbis. To prove that King David's Jewish. That's pretty important for Christians and for Jews. And the future Messiah. So if you tell me you're going to call me names, you're going to say things, whatever it is. But you didn't answer the question. I have a very specific question. I have 10 other questions that I didn't get answers for either. So what's the bottom line in all this? You're not interested in an answer. That's the bottom line. You don't want to listen to the rabbis. You have your own agenda. That's it. You know, someone wants to make fun. You know, someone on a YouTube video. Took a lot of pot shots. Tremendous amount of pot shots. They're not interested in an answer. They keep saying the same thing. Show me where this is in the Torah. It's not. It's an oral law. You don't know the oral law. End of discussion. You're a messianic. End of discussion. So where's my answer about King David to the messianic? They don't have one. And they don't care. Okay? That's why there's nothing to talk about. You have an agenda. I also have an agenda. And I'm going to follow the Torah and follow the rabbis. You don't want to follow them? That's your choice. But there's so many verses that show you need rabbinic interpretation. Can't be what I think. Can't be what's in my heart. Because you have to answer all these questions. Doesn't matter what's in your heart. If you answer the question and it's universal, you can pass it down. Okay? But just admit you're not intellectually honest. Right? Then don't leave the Messianics alone. Because obviously they do things according to what the rabbis say. Say, no, but we don't follow them. So why do we wear tzitzis? Why do you keep Shabbos? You follow what you want to do. You pick and choose. Just admit it. But it can't be what's in your heart. What's in your heart doesn't matter. It's about action. This is exactly what we learned from Salofchot. It's about actions, about what I do. And he was even willing to sacrifice his life, do a transgression for the sake of heaven, for the sole reason that the Jewish people, even though they're liable for a death penalty, and they're going to die in the desert, still have to keep Shabbos. That's the novelty over here, according to the Medrash. So I want to remind everyone, I give a class on duties of the heart every Tuesday, 9 o'clock New York time. I have 2 Q&As, Tuesday, Thursday, 10 o'clock New York time, 5 o'clock Israel time. I have a class on Book of Leviticus, chapter 13. That is every Sunday, 4 o'clock Israel time, 9 o'clock in the morning New York time. I have conversion classes. Anyone interested? Find me on Facebook, Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMKOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wishing everyone a great Shabbos. Check, mate.